Peter Woods, you are a New York Jet, baby. The potential Peter Woods tank, trademark pending, is in the books, and that one was not for the faint of heart. I gotta say. Now, where this ranks among worst Jets teams of all time, I don't know. The pre Brady Cook era 2025 Jets kind of blended in there with some Gase teams, the into the first solid team, run of the mill bad Jets team. But this December now into early January version of the Brady Cook slash potentially Peter Woods tank Jets. Yeah, I was a little too young for Kotite, so that's probably as bad as it gets for me for a 5-game stretch of football for this team. It was the worst point differential in the month of December in NFL history, and this was the worst point differential in a season for a New York Jets team in franchise history. No interceptions, no 400-yard receivers, and a punter who was cut and then rejoined the team in late September wins team MVP. So that's pretty tough. But here are the fruits of our labor, of what you endured. This is the Brady Cook sacrifice you see before you. When the Jets beat the Atlanta Falcons 6 weeks ago, feels like about 5 years ago. When the Jets beat the Atlanta Falcons, they were slated to pick number 7 and number 24 overall. And then they went on a insanity run of tanking. And now they are slated to pick number 2 overall. And that Indy pick will now be at least 16, but is projected to be 15 right now because the Baltimore Ravens are up 10-0 over the Steelers. And if the Ravens hang on, that will be the 15th overall pick. And that Sauce trade, I mean, the Sauce and Quinnen trades are really, and this number 2 pick are the only saving grace, and 100 million in cap space. So we're heading into what feels like 2022 all over again, where you have the opportunity to really add some significant talent via a draft class and some free agency ads. That 2022 offseason for the Jets, obviously they didn't end up winning a lot of games, but they did radically change the overall roster talent on the team. Those 2022 and 2022 to 2024 Jets were probably average in NFL roster talent. But obviously bad quarterback play, injured quarterback play, old quarterback play, and then really bad coaching is what made them terrible. So you could whip around your roster. I know it's it's so hard to see, man. You got to squint really hard. It's probably for the best if we just simulated the Brady Cook era, because I feel as though there was a portion of the season where you're looking at this team and you're like, hey, Armand Membu can play, Olu Fashanu can play, Joe Tippmann. Like, you finally have a solid offensive line. You got a couple of playmakers that would be, high level playmakers on other teams than Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall. So fire up a wide receiver 2, throw a quarterback in here, and let's cook. And Tanner Engstrand had some promising moments early, but now it feels as though that was a mirage and you're just clinging to some blind faith and some copium, hoping that they can turn this around. But that Sauce trade is aging a lot better. I think AD Mitchell is still some sort of NFL player. Are you penciling him in as your number 2? Absolutely not. He should be competing to be the number 3 receiver in an ideal world. Okay, that's an NFL player you got in for free, along with a 15th overall pick. And look at the Colts. Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. I mean, it's a pretty good chance that they are picking top 20. So you could have 2 top 20 picks and a role-playing receiver for Sauce Gardner, and obviously the cap relief that provides you. So that's a pretty good trade. Quinnen, same thing for a 1 and 2, and that 1 is supposedly going to be in a really good draft class, not just for quarterbacks, but that 2027 class in terms of overall talent in the class is supposed to be really, really good. All right. So the Jets have the capital to do this. There is, if Dante Moore declares, we will see, but if they hired the right people, they'll be, they have the resources to turn it around. Did they hire the right people? We don't know. It's pretty ugly right now. They're going to bring Glenn back. I imagine there will be a maybe there will be a formal statement by released by Woody Johnson or by the Jets, PR team tomorrow speaking to Glenn and Moog's job security. Uh, but Glenn spoke today already talking about next year and conversations he's had with Woody and Moogs for next year. So we kind of knew that after they made the trades that the one and done was probably off the table. And they've been pitched a multiple year Woody's been pitched a multiple year rebuild, which it is. You know, there's components about there's components about the Jets' new leadership structure I like. I just don't know if Glenn and Moogs are the individuals to do it at this juncture. At least I don't blame anyone who has significant doubts about that. But I do like that this was the quietest season from Woody Johnson that I could ever remember, and that we've begged him to have football people make football decisions, and we've begged the Jets to make the hard decisions, and instead of being somewhat mid, rip it off down to the studs, actually complete a tank when you know you're going to be ass anyway, be ass with a number 2 pick instead of being ass with a number 7 pick. So those parts of it I like. Unfortunately, I also did watch every game this season, so there was that. There was that part of it. Not as good. Not as good when you actually have to watch these games. But those pieces, I do like. We shall see. In this one, man, I mean, we were really testing the limits of one's knowledge of the roster. My goodness. Who was even out there? We had a guy like named Moloch. We had a guy like named Bojack Horseman who almost got a fumble. Quincy Williams couldn't quite get the interception to keep that streak alive because he had like a cast on his hand. Mitch Trubisky dicing us up. Could have told me he was Josh Allen. Yeah, that was pretty rough. I can't believe that spread was down to 6.5 early last week. Pretty wild. So now, if it's not going to be the Peter Woods tank, which I don't think it is, I mean, to me, it becomes very, very simple. If Dante Moore declares, if you're the Jets, you either take him or you sell that pick. It's just that simple. I actually have a video I'm gonna put out for either tomorrow or Tuesday where I had my top like tier rankings of quarterback combinations, like decisions they make. And getting Dante Moore with the number 2 overall pick is my second favorite option. It's not my first. My first option is actually like a hedged bet situation and not making that massive investment just yet. But our fan perspective aside, I wonder if I did a poll. I bet you'd be pretty 50-50 if the Jets should take Dante Moore with the number 2 overall pick. And I think most of I would guess at least half of the half, right? So 25% of us would probably say Dante Moore is fine, but oh my God, we need 57 players. And I want to wait until, we have somewhat of a functional team before we add the quarterback, which I understand. But from their perspective, man, like you did all this. Again, you did all this to get Peter Woods, and if it's not Peter Woods, like you did all this to get Arvell Reese, you did all this to get Caleb Downs. I mean, come on, you have to turn the Brady Cooks era into your quarterback of the future, or a nice haul where you get like I don't know, whatever, a couple of second round picks to move back a couple of spots to Arizona or whatever. Like it can't just be the Peter Woods tank. And I apply the Peter Woods principle to any position. I mean, I love Ruben Bain, but dude, you need a little more, man. You need to come away with a little more from what we endured this year. And why would the Jets put themselves through this if it wasn't to target a quarterback? So I think if Dante Moore declares, he will be a New York Jet. And thank goodness we have the number 2 pick and not the number 3 pick, because now we don't have to deal with Giant fans concocting preposterous trade proposals um, all summer long. Dude, honestly, Peter Woods at 15 is fine. Peter Woods at 15 is probably fine. We could use a defensive we could use a million things. Peter Woods at 15 is fine. But Peter Woods being the main prize for the Brady Cook era is untenable, untenable. So, and if you're staying up late at night because the Raiders ended up winning and we ended up being just one skinny loss away from the number one pick, rest assured that if the 1 o'clock slate went differently, I think the Raiders would have found a way to lose that game, right? Because the Giants already won, the Raiders secured the number one pick before that the game kicked off. So really, the Jets needed to go 1-16 to get the number one pick. So it's the same as Trevor Lawrence. That year they would have needed to go 1-16. It's just when the Jets are pretty bad, there's always a team that is somehow even worse. And tip of the cap to the Raiders. Tank respects Tank. They out tanked us. They out tanked us. They somehow beat the Patriots week 1, which is insane. That actually, again, I believe that should eliminate the Patriots from playoff contention. I think if you lost to the 2025 Raiders, you should not be allowed to be a playoff team. I think that should count as 9 losses. I think that's fair. And the Denver Broncos as well, because they were within 3 points of losing to the Jets. So that should count as 5 losses. So they should be on the ropes as well. But yeah, man, I think they're gonna take a quarterback. And they're gonna take Dante Moore. Why else would they be doing this? Like, I'm not saying that the Jets would have won today if they played Tyrod Taylor and pushed Garrett Wilson to come back and Mason Taylor and AZ Thomas and Will McDonald, but and Breece Hall or Johnson. Like we all understand if this was a team that was playing for like a wild card spot or something, all those guys would be playing, right? So they're kind of saying we're good, we're gonna lose, we're gonna be a historically bad Jets team. We're gonna have fans changing their profile picture to fire Glenn like it's a 2017 social justice cause hashtag on their Twitter accounts. We're gonna have that. Um, and the fruit of it is gonna be Peter Woods. No, I don't think so. They're the only one manifesting Peter Woods because it's funny. Well, actually, no, I have seen, Dano, I've seen, I appreciate the super chat. I've seen 2 mock drafts, one by CBS Sports. I saw it on Christmas morning. It ruined my Christmas. Yeah, it shouldn't have, but it did. It probably ruined my next couple of Christmases, to be honest. Um, Peter Woods, number 3 overall at the time when the Jets were the number 3 pick, CBS Sports. Real live journalist cooked that one up. Then Nick Faria, who writes for Jet X Factor, who's a cool dude. I like Nick. I like all the Jet X guys. He's a cool dude. And when you're like a writer and you have to put out different ideas, you're gonna throw out some weird ideas, right? Like I had a mock off season where Kyler Murray was the quarterback, and everyone is like, "You should go die." That's part of it. But he put out Peter Woods at number 3 as well. So there were 2 other third party Peter Woods manifestors out there. It's funny because I'll post, like, obviously, if you guys are on YouTube, like, you kind of know that the Peter Woods thing is a bit, but not everyone on Twitter knows that. So people will freak out. Like, why are you saying we should take Peter Woods? What is with this Peter Woods? He sucks. Like, dude, it's a joke. It is a joke. I still don't know if Peter Woods is good, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know if Peter Woods is good. Don't even tell me. If you know, don't tell me. Solemn super chat. Huge shout out to you, Mr. BJ, for making this at least an entertaining season on the socials. Yeah, no problem, man. I really try to not crash out this year because the hope of getting Rodgers and how that went with both the injury and then the disappointing season, it broke me a little bit. It really did. So my content was probably pretty emotional. So I really am like, all right, I'm not gonna crash out. I'm just gonna watch the team and talk about it. And it's not the end of the world. It's just sports. Because I was the combination of 4 snaps and then getting a Hall of Fame quarterback and then Devontae Adams and ABT somehow plays. We got Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and we score 19 points a game. It's like, what can this franchise ever do? And then Sam Darnold is going, 14 win seasons, and it's just like, come on, man. So it broke me a little bit, but you got to compose yourself. After all, it is just a game. That being said, it's not looking really good, man. What was the second part of your super chat here? Um, gun to your dome. Is Dante Moore coming out? I mean, yes, but that is influenced by me wanting him to, and also, like, I hope he does well. I hope Oregon wins because I would guess the more he accomplishes this season collegiately, the more likely he is to come out. Or if he has a terrible game and it's like, I don't know, maybe he wants to go back and see if he can go further. I know that he's gonna get a lot of money in nil money. Like, his nil money could be on an annual basis, could be as much as a rookie NFL salary, but the difference is your rookie contract is fully guaranteed. So you're gonna get 45 million guaranteed. Where if you get injured or if whatever happens, or if you go back to school and you suck and you were gonna, like, Garrett Nussmeier was supposed to be a top pick and now he's a day 2 pick. Drew Aller, right? To just if you have an opportunity to go get, because the difference, like, 10 million, it's taxed. Like, I'm not, dude, 10 million is awesome. Me personally, I could live off of a taxed 10 million the rest of my life because I don't have I'm a guy of pretty modest means. Like, I don't care. I will drive a Honda CRV hybrid that gets 55 miles. I'll be good. I will be good. But dude, the difference between that and like 45 million, now you're talking like your kids and up to your grandkids. Like, that's generational money. 10 million tax, so you're talking 6 million. You're good. 45, 50 million, you're generationally good to go. So that's a lot of money to turn down. Um, I I can't imagine he would have a good enough reason to do that, but I hope he declares because, and even if you're a Jeff fan and you don't want Dante Moore, you hope he declares because at least it gives you options. Like, you could trade out of that pick and maybe get some nice stuff. But it would be weird to get this close. And now that you don't even have to trade up, like trading up to get Dante Moore because maybe you have to give like a 2 and a 3, that's a lot. An additional 2 and a 3. That's 2 more starters that this team desperately needs, but you don't have to trade up. And you have enough cap space to sign a veteran. It may not be our favorite veteran, to sign a veteran, or maybe even a second one like the Giants did, and they didn't break the bank. What did they pay Jameis and Russ combined? Maybe 15 million total. So you could patch it up with a couple of veterans and give Dante Moore the Mahomes treatment. Get the once you're in a position to get this scarce asset, get him, stow him away, and then build the team while he's simmering, right? Look like a normal team next year. Even if you're not a playoff team, look like a normal team next year. Then you're saying, hey, we already got Dante Moore, we already have you. Now we have 3 first round picks to further uh build out the roster before you even really see the field. I don't think that's a bad plan. I don't think that's a bad plan at all. Super chat. Jet Socials posted a highlight video of special teams play, and in the video you see it's 21 nothing Bills. I mean, yeah, that's a tough day's work, being trying to put out Jets hype content because and unlike someone like us, they have a mandate to try and sell positive stuff. So slim slim pickings of choices of what to share on there. I still think this is me being Mr. Scrooge, and I fully admit that. It's like you had to make the chef's kiss giving the punt returner who was cut the team MVP. And I get it, it's like a redemption story, it's cool, but it's like, couldn't you just give it to the 1,000-yard back, man? Like, do we have to have the punt returner be the MVP on top of this year? But he is. But he is. And hey, Arian Smith is a good gunner. How about that? That is his path though, because it's looking like same as Corley. Oh my gosh, is this guy going to be one and cut? But if Arian Smith can keep doing what he's doing on specials, it at least give him a shot to stay on the roster while he tries to develop into um, a receiver that is worth making a team on his own merits as a receiver. Because right now, as a receiver, Arian Smith is not really an NFL receiver. So hopefully he can keep that up and then become better as a receiver, I guess. There you go. Yeah, it's not ideal. We need a receiver that complements Garrett. Lemon is that too short? I hear you, man, but I think I don't disagree with you stylistically. Lemon is not the he's the worst complement of the first round receivers of Tyson and Tate. On him, like that tier one of receivers or the consensus tier one. I would agree with that, but I think he's going to be so good that it's going to feel that logic will age to feel kind of silly. Now, I'm not gonna say he's gonna be Jackson with a Jigba and have 1,800 yards in his 3rd year, but I think you probably would have said the same thing about JSN, right? Like, "Oh, stylistically, I don't know," or Amon-Ra St. Brown, whereas it's like, dude, just put 2 of those studs on the field and you figure it out. Because I think Lemon is the best receiver, or at least my favorite receiver. How about that? He's my favorite receiver in the class. I would more want to play for the Jets. Well, he doesn't I mean, why would Armamendu wanna play for the Jets? But he was drafted there, and unless you do some sort of very seldom precedented, rebellion, that's where you go. Now, whoever picks 1, 2, or 3 usually is pretty horrific. Like, why would Mendoza want to play for the Raiders? I think the Raiders. Now, the Jets are definitely the second worst situation. The Raiders are probably the worst though because they don't even have an offensive line or a receiver one. Now maybe they get a really inspiring coaching hire, which I doubt, but the Raiders are probably worse than us. Like, in terms of quarterback and infrastructure for a quarterback, I would say the Ravens and Titans are probably the only teams that are worse than us. But there are teams that are worse, and one of them is picking first. So does Dante Moore wanna go to the Raiders? I don't know. But, yeah, he's probably hoping that Sean McVay trades up for him, right? Moore is a higher risk for bust than Mendoza. Yeah, I mean, I just think Mendoza's a better look, I don't you're not gonna find me pushing back if you would prefer Mendoza on the Jets. That would be my preference, but, if I had to guess, Mendoza will not be available to us. The Cardinals and Browns. Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, I think if you're maybe if they retain Kevin Stefanski, who those coaches of the years are starting to feel like a long time ago when he's got won what 4 and 3 games the last 2 seasons. But yeah, I think if you're like, yeah, would I take Stefanski over Glenn? Probably. If you put a gun to my dome, as whoever said. But yeah, there's all these teams that are quarterback needy at the top, like roster wise. They're in bad shape. The Cardinals are horrific. The Raiders are horrific. The Jets are horrific. The Browns have a good defense. Offensively, they're I mean, did you watch the Browns the last 2 weeks? They somehow won today. Shedeur Sanders got sacked 6 times against the worst pass rush in the NFL somehow. And then the Browns, I watched them beat the Steelers last week. I was watching that entire game because it had huge draft implications, but that was just a that was a pitiful offensive performance both ways. So the Browns, yeah, I mean, their offensive line and receiver core. Jerry Jeudy has had one of the worst seasons efficiency wise from a high volume receiver in a long time. He has like 15 drops. That's why you don't take Mason Graham. That's why you don't take Mason Graham in round one. You take Tedderall McMillan or Armand Membu or Kelvin Banks like a normal team. That was Jetsian. And Mason Graham will be good, but that was Jetsian. Like now you no good. It was Peter Woodsian. Every time I pop over to the Sunday night game, it's just a flag. The officiating is so brutal in this sport. It doesn't really matter for the Jets because they're so bad. They're not even in close games. You can't get mad at calls, but just in general, the officiating is so horrific. Perfect opportunity to trade down, take Trinidad. Yes, so I'm waiting for I wanna see what happens with the Ole Miss Miami game before I, make the join the Trinidad hype train. I'm curious. I am Trinidad curious, that's for sure, because that kid was balling out. He was scrambling all over the place, throwing dimes down the field against real college competition for the former D2 quarterback. So if he cooks against Miami, we have some conversations to be had. And my preference right now for the Jets would be actually what did you know what? Didn't Tanner McKee play today? The guy who everyone says needs to be the Jets quarterback because he's a secret hidden gem. What did he do today against the Commanders? Well, he completed 50% of his passes and threw 1 touchdown and 1 pick. Now, maybe it looked better than that, but that's not exactly against the bad Commanders team. So that's not exactly a performance that you say, "Holy crap, he just made himself a whole bunch of money," right? 6 yards per pass. Alright. Did he do anything with his legs? 2 rushes for 3 yards. Okay, so maybe that's kinda made up. I had a feeling Tanner McKee wasn't real. Maybe we're getting some indication that Tanner McKee is not real. So, my first preference as of right now, you had to ask me right now, and if you don't like it, you gotta tell me what your preference is, man. At least Eddie does that. Eddie hates all my ideas, but he says, "Here is my alternative solution." And it's like, "All right, we shall see who is correct." Like every quarterback idea you throw out, people like laugh at it, and it's like, you guys know you're getting fucking Marcus Mariota, right? So we can laugh at Malik Willis or whoever, but it's like you're getting Marioted. So enjoy. But Mariota is not in my preference list. He's down at the bottom, but my preference right now would be a Malik Willis signing because he's shown that he was coached up and he can play well in a good system. So if you don't have a good system, okay, then you just suck. And unlike the other, like Mac Jones can play well in a good system, but Mac Jones you have to trade for. I don't want to, and those guys like Mills or Mac Jones, those guys kept those teams' seasons afloat. The Texans might not be in the playoffs if they didn't have Mills. So they're gonna ask for like, I don't know, a 3 and a 6 or something for a bridge QB. No, no, no. I really would prefer not to do that. I'd rather it be just cap dollars because the draft picks to me are more precious than cap dollars. So if you could sign Malik Willis and then you take a Shug variant day 2 quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, Trinidad Chambliss. So I people like vomit when you say his name. I actually don't think Carson Beck is that bad. I think Carson Beck might be a like that's what people thought about Shug. Shug was a joke. I think if Carson Beck lands with a good staff and he could Shug, I think he could Shug it up. That's not winning an MVP, but shugging is fine. So that way it gives you 2 bites at the apple because Malik Willis is young enough to where he could do a thing. It's an outlier. If you're betting on the percentages, it's more likely that he is Matt Flynn than he is like Kurt Warner, right? But if you could somehow convince him to be on a 1-year deal, and to get him to do that, you'd have to give him more money than the next team and guarantee that he's the week 1 starter. You'd have to do that, otherwise he's not gonna come here because he's gonna have options, and we're not a great spot. So that's fine. The problem with Fields was because let me tell you this: if Fields was a because let's say Malik Willis flops and it's like Fields, which it very well could be. It's a possibility. Although he's Fields had like 55 starts of being pretty bad, but Malik Willis is more of an unknown. So it's almost like, would you rather loan money to someone with a 400 credit score or someone who's only taken out one $100 loan, but they paid it back? I would choose the latter. But let's say the Jets signed Justin Fields this past offseason to a 1-year deal, and they drafted Shug or Milrow or whatever on day 2. I don't remember who else. Didn't Dart go or late round 1? So one in that range. And Justin Fields flopped, and they went to Shug or Milrow, and they kind of looked somewhat promising. And then the next year, they're like, okay, we have this quarterback in house who maybe could be okay if we improve our team, and Fields' money is completely off the books. That is radically different than paying Fields $22 million to not play for you and having to pivot from him to the hologram of Tyrod Taylor and then Brady Cook. That's way different. So it gives you 2 bites at the apple to try and solve the quarterback position long term without mortgaging your future with a high draft pick. That being said, if they want to take the shot with the number 2 overall pick, because most franchise quarterbacks are taken in the first round, that's fine too. But that would actually be my preference: the Willis and the Shug, and you got 2 possible chances. And if it ends up that this regime is terrible, then they're gone, and the new people have all 3 of those first round picks to work with, and you didn't make a massive investment at quarterback. Well, we'll see. I mean, you 3rd round pick, sure, but high second to late first round picks, you gotta draft a quarterback mostly in the top 50, right? Mostly in the top 50. Be past that, yeah, you are right. We should have kept Rodgers. Well, I'm sorry you don't get it. Dude, Rodgers is about to miss the playoffs on a team that makes it with Kenny Pickett and Fields and Wilson. Like, he's literally post 22 Rodgers is a bottom 10 quarterback, but he pop passes touchdown, a high touchdown interception ratio, so it, like, breaks people's brains into still thinking he's good. And this is a quarterback from 2010 to 2021 was the best quarterback I'd seen play with my eyes. Like, I know Brady won more rings and Mahomes later won more rings. With my eyes in my life, that's the best quarterback I've seen, and he was betrayed by horrific defenses and bad special teams, I was a Rodgers truther. I still am for his career in total, I still am a Rodgers truther. People say Stafford is better than him, had a better they're nuts. Aaron Rodgers is the top 5 thrower of the football ever. Post 2022, he is a legitimately bad quarterback who tricks people into thinking he's good because he throws a lot of touchdowns still. Like, watch what you're watching tonight. He's gonna put up, like, no touchdowns in back-to-back weeks to lose on a team that went to the playoffs with Fields and Russ and, Pickett and Rudolph. Um, so I don't know what that would have done for us, like, drafting keeping Rodgers and drafting Shug. What would the Rodgers component of that done for this Jets team really? Um, I don't know, not much. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess if they had someone playing like that was on a rookie contract, maybe that would have been, like, something worth tuning in for than the freaking Brady Cook era, my gosh. More will be killed, he's too is he that skinny? The Steelers will come back and win this? It's possible. They're not gonna do it by some amazing offensive performance, though. Is watch what is happening. Um, yeah, I mean, Dante Moore is obviously he's still very young, so it's hard to project, like, maybe if he stayed at school couple more years, he would be, some consensus top pick, but yeah, he kinda does have that, Jaden Daniels-ish build, I would say, maybe, where he is definitely a little thinner than most. I don't look at him and think, "Oh my gosh, like, get that kid a sandwich immediately," but yeah, he's a little skinnier than you'd like probably. The season starts now, baby. This is where we thrive. This is where we thrive, Dylan Terman. This is where legends are made. Off season. Yeah, this is one though where, like, you really have to accept that it's, like, the next 2 off seasons with the boatload of those picks. To me, a realistic expectation, if they hired the right, people, like, what would be an outcome? Now, if they hired geniuses like McVay, or just somebody who refuses to ever suck like Tomlin, yeah, they should be in, a wild card team next year, right? Sure. But let's say if Glenn and Muji are league average GMs, which is a generous assumption, I would say, with the information that we have now. But let's make that assumption that they can be next year, they can be a league average front office and a league average coaching staff. Okay, then you should look like a normal team next year, that maybe has limitations because you're playing a rookie or band-aid quarterback. But then, if that rookie gets the second half of the season to start, and then next year is his like second season, um, you should be a wild card team in 2027. There's no reason that if they hired capable people, they can't be a wild card team in 2027. That doesn't even mean you have to necessarily beat. You could be behind the Pats and the Bills still, right? It could, and make a wild card with there's 7 damn seeds. Like half the freaking league gets in, man. So you should never be more than 2 years away when 40 whatever, 40 plus percent of the league gets in the playoffs, and there's lots of teams in and out. Lamar's hurt, Burrow's hurt. This team, Daniel Jones tears his Achilles, they fall out of the race. Like, you gotta find yourself being one of those 7 damn teams by 2027. It's just, it'd be an insult to expect to not expect that. So who evaluated Cook on this new coaching staff. Yeah, I mean Brady Cook, he like when he's a big kid, he can move a little bit. He's got a strong arm, but I remember watching Luther Burden when I was doing like some draft homework last year, and I remember my conclusion being, man, like if this kid had a quarterback in college, he would have cooked. Uh, so yeah, yeah, it's. I mean, he's a UDFA, but uh, I mean, there's just I don't know what to say about Brady Cook. Like that's probably going to be these will be his only NFL starts. There's a good chance of that. What are we doing at running back? If I had to guess, Brees is back. Maybe he's tagged. Um, again, I just if you're not bringing Brees back, you should have traded him. I know like comp pick and all this stuff. Like no, because comp pick isn't guaranteed. If the Jets spend money, it could cancel out. So if you had a third round pick, or whatever, on the table, and you were 0-7 and you didn't feel confident you were bringing back that running back, like you got to take that draft capital. So if he's not back, then you missed out on a valuable pick. So bring him back. Brees is fine. Brees is I don't know what is Brees Hall, the eighth best running back in the NFL. That's fine. That's good. Kirk Cousins, yeah, Kirk Cousins. Just manage your expectations because he has been pretty. Like I don't even know if he's not even really a below average starter. He's even a tier lower than that. I would say if you look at his like completion percentage, down like just above 60, which is bad in the modern NFL. Yards per attempt just hovering over 6. Um, so definitely a check down Charlie who misses more throws than you'd like. Thing that Kirk Cousins has done very well this season is he mitigates pressure pretty well, and obviously not with elusiveness, but just getting the ball out and understanding, his hot reads, all that veteran savvy, because he does have, at least when I was looking at quarterback options this morning before today's game went final, he had like a 3% sack rate and a 10% pressure to sack rate, which is phenomenal. And he has very low turnover worthy throws. He actually has the same number of picks as turnover worthy throws. So that means he's been unlucky with picks. So Kirk Cousins has been great at avoiding negative plays this year, but he's got no juice. So that would be okay as long as you give him a contract that reflects that. Especially if you're pairing him with a Dante Moore, I think that, would be okay. I don't think that's a bad plan at all. Does Kirk Cousins care that he and the Jets had an almost contract falling out a bunch of years ago? I don't know. All 3 QBs should be let go. Well, Fields will definitely be let go. Even if Brady Cook is back in camp, he won't be. I doubt we see a Brady Cook start ever again as a Jet. So I wouldn't worry about Fields or Cook. And Tyrod would only be back if he is a part of a 3 QB room, because Tyrod can't be a bridge situation and he can't be a primary backup, right? So you can't count on Tyrod to play more than 2 games in a row. So that can't be your backup quarterback. Would you trade up for Mendoza? Well, I mean, I think with the Raiders having the number 1 pick, that is probably off the table. If the Giants ended up with the number 1 pick, then I think that would have been a discussion, like, are you, outbidding, the other teams to get up to that number 1 pick and leapfrog the Raiders? But the Raiders would have to be it's kind of like Cam Ward having the number 1 pick last year. Teams called up, but they're like, "You gotta give us 4 first-round picks." So, I just don't think there's a reasonable path to doing it. If the Giants ended up with the number 1 pick, I think yeah, I think you should consider it because I think Mendoza is a good prospect. I don't think he is just going number 1 simply because it's a weak class. Like, I think he is a quarterback that is it's reasonable that he would be a top 3 quarterback, in a lot of different classes. So, like, of the last 3 draft classes, I or the last, 2 draft classes, I think he would have been, behind May, Daniels, and Williams, and then ahead of guys like Penix and Nix and McCarthy and Ward and Dart. So, I don't know, would the Patriots, like, if they would have traded up for Drake May instead of just drafting him, would that have been bad? I don't know. Yeah, but the Raiders having that pick, it's just it's to me, it's like the draft starts at 2. Mendoza is a Raider. Now the Jets are on the clock at 2, is almost how I kinda see it. Ablab Studios, appreciate this. That. Jesus Buffalo, Jake is really crashing out on AG. He doesn't like him. Jake is being broken by the Jets. It happens to all of us. We all have a season that breaks us. I think last year was mine. I was broken. Angry. So Jake is having his season this season. The Jets have finally done him in. Happens to the best of us. Yeah, there's definitely I think the on to be honest, the biggest thing that gives me concern about the coaching staff returning is how guys like Bart Scott, Willie Cologne, and Damian Woody speak of Glenn. Because you would think there would be and I remember there was after Saleh's rookie year from those 3 guys, there was I don't know, it felt as though the season was what it was, and we all just took it for what it was, and then we saw what the next season would bring. But from those former players, those former Jets, like, I don't wanna put words in their mouth or paraphrase incorrectly, but it's been a different tone from those guys, and they're not doing it to, like, they got personal vendetta against Glenn. They're not doing it for clicks or whatever, like, that they're saying that because that's what they think. So why do they think that? That's concerning. But I appreciate the super chat as always, man. God blab. Dude, this is how sick I am, man. I will not lie to you guys. There was a moment, very brief, okay? I came to my senses quickly, but there was a very brief moment where I was like, "Should the Jets sign Mitch sign Mitch Trubisky this offseason. Like, this could be fine for a bridge quarterback. But then I remember that he would not be playing the Jets if he was on the Jets. So, I mean, what's his passer rating against the Jets in his career now? Because remember he came in for one play earlier in the season and he hit Sauce for like a 40-yard seam ball. So he is yeah, he's like Steve Young against the Jets. I respect people's take to hate Glenn. Well, yeah, it definitely is, you're gonna deal with some responses, right? When you if you kind of call it curtains on a new head coach or a highly drafted new quarterback, those are the two ones where it's spots where people are going to be very passionate about. So, look, there. I mean, it definitely is possible that we're by Halloween of next season. It's like, yeah, man, all the people who said you got to pull the plug after year one were kind of right. Um, I don't know, man. It's so toxic. I hate when Jet fans lash out at other fans or like because let's be honest, like yeah, let's I know like again, like the people changing their profile picture to Fire Glenn, like okay, it's kind of a gimmick, but it's also a gimmick to completely pretend like this season was fine. Like I think that person is come on, you all know that person. That's kind of annoying. Like, when they make it out to be like, "You're the crazy one if you didn't just take this one on the chin in full stride and, like, every part of it was fully to be expected." It's like, man, those are the same people who were telling you this could be a 9-win team. They were telling you that all these roster moves were good. Now, I didn't say they were gonna be a 9-win team, but I said, "Hey, 6.5 wins. Can you make Fields a little can you?" Because Fields is slowly getting a little bit better each year. I'm like, "Okay, can you level him up 15% to where he's playable as a bridge into next year? And can you win more games than you won last year while getting younger and cheaper?" That was my expectation coming into the season. That's a pretty modest expectation. So, I think when you say and honestly, when I was saying that, people were, "You're underrating Fields, you're underrated. We're gonna get all these it's gonna be better than that. We're gonna now play." Not everyone, but there was a significant and then it's like some of there I don't wanna say everyone. There is an overlap of population. There's a middle of a Venn diagram of people who are saying this team could be very competitive this year, and to even push back on that was, like, hate and being negative, and then when they start, like, 0-7, those same people will say that you should have expected them to be the worst team in the NFL the entire offseason. It's like, that's crazy. That's gaslighting, that's dishonest, man. Like, people try to get the most positive Jet fan award. I believe in Woody Johnson the most. Like, all right, man. And like you're some sort of crazy lunatic. You're in with the Joe Beningos of the world. If you watch this season and you go, I got some doubts. I got some doubts, man. I don't know. Not looking so hot. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, if the Jets do turn it around, do we as fans take the humble approach or shit talk like others do? No, you because you know, you take it when you gotta get it while it's hot. You gotta get it while it's hot, man. Talk your trash. I don't know. I don't know why I don't know why these, like, deadpan statement comments always make me crack up. Aaron Glenn, Jet Life to the Next Life just says, "Aaron Glenn is a terrible head coach." Oh, man. It's good to push back with Flores would be 8 and 9, truth. So, I don't if all of these things remained equal, like, roster-wise, and you just swapped out Flores and Glenn, I would bet under 8 wins for this past team. Now Do I think like with the information I have right now, is Brian Flores a better head coach than Aaron Glenn? Yeah. So yeah. Am I fully confident he would have got almost three times the number of wins? No, but yeah, because he's obviously he had a winning record for a Miami team that wasn't very good. And I'm sure maybe he's learned a thing or two on being under Tomlin's staff and um, KOC's staff. So I think Flores would be ready for like another opportunity. I think he would do pretty well. Like he is if you're gonna hire a defensive candidate, I don't think you could do much better than Flores because he has experience. He's had at least a 500 plus coach, and his defensively, I think he adds schematic juice to his defenses in ways that are pretty undeniable over the sample size that he's had. And now he's been under two really good coaching staffs and gotten to learn. And he was right. Like Tua was kind of a bitch. So yeah, Flores, maybe he'll get a job this upcoming offseason. Flores as head coach and Dable as OC. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Dable is a complete Josh Allen merchant, and there is really little evidence to the contrary besides like the most fluky playoff season that year with Daniel Jones was. But NBC is making fun of the Jets. What do we do? Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator. Yeah, I'm down. I would sign up for that. If more balls out against Indiana, yeah, I mean, you want with more balls out against Indiana, it's good both ways because either it's like, hey man, maybe the Raiders take this kid. The Raiders are weird. The Raiders do weird things with their first round picks. I remember they took Alex Leatherwood in the first round. What? So the Raiders are a weird organization, man. But if more balls out, it's like, hey, maybe the Raiders take him, or B, hey, this kid is balling out. If he lands to the Jets, that's pretty cool too. So Moore playing really, really well is the best outcome for the Jets. Cleveland Farrell, yeah, insane drafting team. Yeah, it was. I mean, Aaron Glenn in that post game presser, it's pretty. This being the head coach of this franchise ages you like being the president. It really does because Glenn came in very confident, and he just looked like a beaten down man at that end of year presser, and he did put it on himself. He said, he let the team down, he let everyone down. There's not going to be much he can say to call off his detractors. The only way he'll be able to do that is to find a way to get this team playing some, at least 500-ish football next year. Can we be mid? Can we be mid? Is the question. Maybe. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. If you want to hit the thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. Go Jets.